Who would have thought that one of the best crime novels of the year would be two couples in rural Arkansas clashing against the backdrop of a chicken processing plant? My name's P.T. Hylton. The book we're talking about today is Broiler by Eli Cranor. Hello, book people. I've been a big fan of Eli Cranor since his novel Don't Know Tough, which was sort of another crime novel, a southern crime novel set against the backdrop of high school football. Really good book. This one I think is even better. Broiler came out earlier this year, and it tells the story of two couples. One of the couples is Edwin and Gabriella, who are undocumented workers who are working at this chicken processing plant. They came to the United States from Mexico as kids and were high school sweethearts and have worked in this chicken processing plant for years and years under some pretty horrible conditions. The other couple is Luke and Mimi. Luke is the manager at the chicken processing plant, and Mimi, who's a stay-at-home mom who's taking care of their, 6-month-old child. So the premise of this novel is Gabriella and Edwin are working under these really bad conditions in this chicken processing plant and are kind of starting to want to make a change. Gabriella's like, man, we're working all this overtime, not getting paid for it. There's these organizations that can help us, things like that. And Edwin's starting to think about, can we organize the workers? What can we do about this? Things like that. And he's a little bit late one day, and that just happens to be the day that Luke, who is up for a promotion, the bigwigs are there to visit him, and so kind of as a way to look tough in front of all the executives and to also kind of keep the other workers in line, he fires Edwin this one day over basically nothing. And that is kind of the pebble that starts rolling down the hill to set this novel into motion and the crazy events that happen in it. This is one of those crime stories that isn't so much about who did it or anything like that. It's more about you're watching this kind of train wreck situation happen where these people are making kind of bad decision after bad decision, although you do understand why they're making these decisions. Things just escalate and escalate and escalate for both of these couples, where both of them are kind of doing things that you're like, boy, their life is probably not going to be the same. I don't see how they're going to get out of this one. I really like those kind of novels. I'm thinking of a lot of the stories of like George Pelecanos, some S.A. Cosby stuff, and then especially the big one that comes to mind is The Simple Plan. Scott Smith's great book, one of my favorites. But what I love about these books is you're kind of watching one decision lead to another. You're watching just things slowly spin out of control. This was a super fast-paced book too. It wasn't super long. I read it, I think, mostly over the course of one day, maybe 2 days. It's just one of those where you're like, the chapters are short and you just keep turning the pages. This is also a very tightly focused novel. We're basically just focusing on these two couples. And there are some friends and family of each couple that come in a little bit, but for the most part, we're with these four people in different combinations throughout the story. And one thing I really appreciated about the novel is that between these two couples, there's not really a good guy and a bad guy, a clear-cut good guy and a bad guy between the two couples. It's they're all in this really messed up situation where you're like, boy, I wish they hadn't made these decisions they're making, but you aren't fully like hating one couple and loving the other couple. Although I will say there's probably one couple that's a little more sympathetic than the other. And overall, I will also say that the women, I definitely sympathized with the wives more than the husbands, because it is both of the husbands that on both sides, each of them do something that's kind of over the top to that kind of puts the ball into motion and escalates things further and further throughout the story. Another really cool aspect is it always kind of feels like, from the perspective of the couples, they are not only, as things are spinning they're out of control, they are one step away from like salvation or deliverance at every point along the way. For Luke, it's like if he gets this promotion, he just has to get this promotion, and all hinges on that. Then his dreams are going to come true. And for Gabriella and Edwin, it's like they need a certain amount of money, and they have a possible way to get that. And if that happens, then everything will be fine. But of course, this being a crime novel, a thriller novel, everything is not fine. Things just keep spinning further and further out of control. I also really like the way that this novel focused on some issues like the chicken processing plant. very unpleasant conditions. It did a great job of making that clear and explaining that, but it didn't, sometimes, it didn't go all, The Jungle by Upton Sinclair on us, where it was like getting gross and graphic with the details. It told us enough to be like, boy, this is really unpleasant and would be a terrible way to work, but it didn't like make me sick to my stomach the entire book, which was, when I saw it was about a chicken processing plant, I was like, that could be really unpleasant. And it was, but not in the way that I feared it was. It was unpleasant in a way that built the tension and helped you understand the situations of the characters. Overall, I think the focus on these 4 characters really built depth for those 4 characters too. You really felt like you understood where they were coming from, even if you didn't agree with some, or I would say most of their decisions in many cases. As I said at the beginning, I really liked Don't Know Tough by Eli Cranor, but I do think this book is even better than that. Eli Cranor is a voice that is just, he's getting better book after book, and I really enjoy and appreciate his writing, and I can't wait to see where he goes next. So that is Broiler. I would love to hear what you think of it. Let me know down in the comments, and until next time, keep turning pages.